You can forget everything you think you know about how to get a marriage green card because the rules have changed and what worked last year can still get your case denied this year. My name is Moumita Rahman and I have been an immigration attorney for the past 16 years. I have successfully filed hundreds of marriage green card cases. So I see in real time what is getting approved, what is getting denied, and most importantly, why. And today I am going to show you the 10 secrets to getting your marriage green card approved. The marriage green card case changes that you can expect underneath the Trump administration and how to stop sabotaging your case before the officer opens your file. Okay, let's start with something that sounds boring on the surface but can literally cut a year off of your case. The first secret is to file all 4 forms together. What are the 4 forms? Well, the I-130 is the application that will prove that your marriage is real. The I-485 is the actual green card application. The I-765 is your work permit application. And the I-131 is your travel document request, also called the advance parole request. Most couples will just file the I-130 first and wait months and sometimes a year or more for it to get approved and then file everything else. That is the old way of doing it. And it could add 6 months to a year on your case for no reason at all. But when you file all 4 of these applications together, doing what is often called a concurrent or one-step filing, your work permit and your travel document begin processing on day 1. So while USCIS is reviewing your green card application and the I-130 application, you may end up getting your work permit and your travel authorization before you ever get your green card. However, there is a catch. Concurrently filing only works if the following are all true. 1, the petitioning spouse has to be a U.S. citizen, not a green card holder. 2, the immigrant spouse has to be inside the United States. And 3, they need to have entered the country lawfully. If even one of these things do not apply to you, make sure that you talk with an attorney before you file anything else because the strategy can completely change. Now, once you have all of your forms together, the next thing that determines whether or not your case gets approved is your evidence. And most couples are putting the evidence together completely wrong. A lot of couples treat their evidence like a grocery list. Joint bank accounts, check. Lease, check. A few photos, check. This is exactly what will usually get you something called a request for evidence, also known as an RFE, because the officer is asking themselves one question. Does this evidence actually look like the story of 2 people who share a life together? Or does it look like a checklist and they're trying to build a story? So this is how you have to build your case. Walk them through the 4 chapters of your relationship: how you met, how you built a life together, your wedding, and your life right now. Make sure you're putting together the strongest version of the story. Some of the most compelling pieces of evidence that you can use to tell your story include your joint federal tax returns filed together as married filing jointly, joint bank accounts with real traceable activity, not just one that you opened and use very minimally just for the sake of filing, a life insurance policy where you name each other as a beneficiary, and a lease with both of your names on it. This is your gold standard of evidence. After this, you can layer in utility bills, joint credit cards, communication with each other, travel records, and photos. For a full breakdown of exactly what evidence to include, watch my other video, The Ultimate Guide to Proving That Your Marriage is Real. I'll include a link to that in the description below. Okay, so now that you have your forms together and you have your evidence built out like a real story, here is where most couples drop the ball: the cover letter. Most people, if they include a cover letter at all, just list out the forms. Exhibit A, Exhibit B, done. But they are missing the entire point of what a cover letter is supposed to do. A real cover letter is not just a table of contents. It is your chance to defend your case before any problems arise. So a strong cover letter will not just organize your file with numbered exhibits and point them to your strongest evidence. More importantly, it will explain the unusual parts about your case before the officer can flag them. And every case has something. Maybe you got married 3 months after a meeting. Maybe there's a 20-year age gap between the 2 of you. Maybe there's an old arrest from years ago that got dismissed. Whatever it may be, if you don't explain it the right way, the officer is going to draw their own conclusions and it may not be in your favor. So say it first before it can sabotage your case, but also make sure you know what you're saying so that you don't get caught in saying something different at the interview. Next, you might think that your social media has nothing to do with your case, but underneath the new executive order, the Department of Homeland Security now requires you to disclose every social media handle handle you have ever used in the last 5 years, including old usernames and any alias accounts. So the question is not whether they are going to look at your accounts. The question is, what are they going to find? So before you file, make sure you and your spouse sit down and audit your profiles together. Start with your relationship status on every platform. If even one of you has it set to single anywhere, it could ruin your case. Then take a look at your timeline. If you are telling USCIS that you met in 2022, but your earliest photo together is from 2024, then they're going to wonder which version is true. Then look at your photos. Are there still pictures up from your ex that could be interpreted the wrong way? Are there long stretches of time where you claim you're together, but you're clearly living in separate places? These are the gaps that DHS is now using AI to detect, and they will flag it. So untag what needs to be untagged, update what needs to be updated, and do it now, not the week before you file. This way, you can at least have everything consistent when you file. And more importantly, you can use social media as some of your strongest evidence. The engagement photo your sister-in-law commented on, the wedding photos your mother-in-law commented on, the vacation pictures that you've been tagged in with your families together. All of this is dated, public, and confirmed by other people who are not you or your spouse, which is very strong evidence. And also, one last thing, do not delete your old accounts before you file, and do not switch a public account over to private right before you file either. USCIS can detect both, and both are known to be fraud indicators. So if something on your social media worries you, talk to your attorney before you touch anything. Okay, so now once your social media is in order, there is another piece of evidence that most couples leave out of their initial filing, and it is the easiest way to add months to your case for no reason at all. I am talking about your medical exam, or the form I-693. It has to be completed by a USCIS approved civil surgeon. A lot of couples may skip the medical exam when they file, thinking they'll just send it later when USCIS asks for it, but this is the old policy and not the new one. USCIS now sends a request for evidence for the medical exam, which can add 3 to 6 months on your case for a form that you could have included from day one. So get it done up front. The USCIS website has a page where you can find a civil surgeon. I will include a link to it below. Civil surgeons can charge anywhere from $200 to $600 and sometimes more depending on what tests you need and what vaccines you need to have administered. When you go, make sure you bring every vaccine record that you have, including your childhood records, anything from school, and anything from past doctors. And also keep in mind that the medical exam is only valid for 2 years from the date the civil surgeon signs it. So time it carefully, early enough to file with your initial package, but also not so early that it can expire before your interview. Next, there is one piece of evidence that USCIS officers are looking for harder than ever, and that is finances. The petitioning spouse has to sign the form I-864 affidavit of support. And the rule that everybody knows is that you need to have at least 125% of the poverty level in order to qualify. This year, that is set to about $27,000 a year for a household of 2 and about $34,000 a year for a household of 3. But here is what most applicants don't know. That 125% is the legal floor, not a safe margin underneath the current administration. Because underneath the current administration, officers now have much wider discretion to evaluate your U.S. citizen spouse's financial sponsorship of you. They're looking at your income, yes, but they are also looking at your assets, your health insurance coverage, your credit history, and whether anyone in your home has previously used certain public benefits. That means that couples who could have hit the minimum earlier are now getting much more scrutinized, harder than ever before. So if your income is right at the line, consider bringing in a joint sponsor. A joint sponsor is a U.S. citizen or a green card holder living in the U.S. who can meet the income requirement on your own. They file their own separate I-864 alongside your U.S. citizen sponsor's application, and this is the cleanest fix available. Next, let me show you how to handle the most stressful part of the application, and that is your interview. Under the current administration, it is not simply enough to prepare for a typical interview. You have to prepare like it is going to be a Stokes interview. A Stokes interview is when the officer separates you and your spouse into different rooms and asks you the same questions to compare your answers to each other. Stokes interviews used to be rare, only really for cases with serious red flags, but not anymore. Officers are now escalating to Stokes interviews for any small concern in the file, and some field officers are even starting interviews in Stokes format right from the beginning. So assume that you'll be separated, prepare that way, and this way you'll you'll be prepared very, very strongly. Sit down with your spouse beforehand and go through every category of question that you can think of, including your how we met story. Both you and your spouse need to give the exact details, the same version, the same dates down to the year, the location, what you ate, what you did, and how it happened. The proposal, where it happened, when it happened, who proposed, who did what, how did you celebrate? Make sure you are on the same page about this as well. Then your daily life, things like who wakes up first, who drinks coffee, how they drink their coffee, what is in the fridge, how you split the bills, what movie did you watch together last, mundane questions that you might be surprised they ask. And also each other's families, their names, their ages, their locations, their marital status, what their jobs are. These details are all pertinent. And here's a question that almost no one ever prepares for. If either of you was married before, the officer will ask the spouse why your marriage did not work out. They might even ask for the ex's name and when the divorce happened. So talk about it before the interview. If you would like to hear all sorts of marriage green card questions currently being asked by USCIS, watch my other video, marriage green card questions that are getting couples denied. I'll put a link to that in the description below. Next, let me show you how to avoid the single most common reason marriage cases get flagged. Before any human at USCIS reads your file, the AI system reads it first. That AI system compares every name, date, address, and employer across every form in your package and against everything that USCIS already has on you from USCIS and also from CBP and even the Department of State. Tax records and other data that is publicly and sometimes even privately available. If anything does not match, your case will get flagged. So before you mail anything, go form by form and check. Your full legal name has to be spelled exactly the same way on every form, same hyphens, same suffixes, and it has to match your passport and your marriage certificate. Your date of birth has to be in the same format every time. Your marriage date is the date on your civil marriage certificate and not your ceremony or celebration date, if those dates are different. Your U.S. entry date has to match your I-94 record exactly, which you can pull online. I'll include a link to that in the description below. Also, your current address has to be the same as on the I-485, the I-864, and the I-765, and your employment history has to line up across every form and with your tax data. And finally, do not leave any field blank. Use the phrase N/A to fill blanks in. A blank field can get flagged as something being incomplete and push your case to the back of the line. Okay, now let me tell you exactly what to do if USCIS sends you back a request for evidence, because how you respond to this can make or break your case. A request for evidence or an RFE is the officer saying, I am not ready to approve this yet. I need more information from you. It is not a denial. Rest assured that 1 in 4 marriage cases gets an RFE, and most of them still end in an approval. So don't freak out if you don't get one. The biggest mistake I see is people panicking, grabbing the first documents they can find, and mailing the responses within a week or less. Then it'll be considered incomplete, and that's when you get denied. So use the full window of time that you have to prepare adequately for your response. You have 87 days from the date on the notice. Start by reading the RFE carefully and picking it apart line by line. Write down every concern that it raises. A lot of RFEs raise more than one issue, and missing one issue can get your entire case denied. Then gather your evidence based upon what they are actually asking for. Once it's ready, build your response with a cover letter that answers each of the officer's concerns point by point, and include numbered exhibits and tabs so they can easily find everything. Then, when you send it, use something that you can track, like certified mail, FedEx, or UPS. This way, you have clear information on when it was delivered and accepted by USCIS. Okay, now let me show you how to turn one of the most overlooked phases of your case into a serious advantage. After you file and complete your biometrics, your case enters a long stretch of time where the USCIS portal just says case is being actively reviewed. And most couples treat this stretch of time as nothing to do but wait. But that is a mistake, because every month that goes by is a month of wasted opportunity of evidence building that you can do. So set up a simple system. On the first of every month, download your joint bank statements and save it to a folder. Keep every shared bill, utilities, insurance, lease renewals, travel receipts in that same folder, and take real photos at real moments together, like family functions, anniversaries, vacations, and even regular Sunday dinner. That way, when you walk into the interview with 6 months of fresh evidence or more on top of what you originally filed, you are in a completely different ball game and different category than the couple who only brings in nothing than what they said the year before. My name is Moumita Rahman, and for the past 16 years, I have been working working in immigration, filing thousands of cases for deserving clients all over the United States. If you would like my help on your case, please give us a call to schedule a case evaluation at 212-248-7907. I'm based in New York, but we work with clients all over the United States. Now, I just walked you through the 10 secrets to getting your marriage green card case approved. But if you don't know the red flags that USCIS is looking at, then you could still do every one of these things and still get denied. So in my next video, I'll show you the exact red flags that are getting as many as 60,000 couples denied each year. And a few of them are honestly going to surprise you. I'll include a link to that video here. Click next and I'll see you there.